You can also get the same material from the United States Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, Publication 4, General Series 3, released May 1962. This, ladies and gentlemen, outlines the disarmament of all nations of the world and the combining of the military forces of the United States and Russia under the United Nations as a world police force. There will be no constitution. There will be no individual creator-endowed rights guaranteed by any constitution. There will be a socialist, totalitarian world government. It outlines 3 stages under which this is going to take place. And under stage 2, it calls for the reduction of the armed forces of the United States military forces, all branches, to just over 2 million active duty soldiers, sailors, and Marines and airmen. We are now in stage 3. They are preparing to disarm the people. They are, listen to me carefully. You'd better listen to me. If you never listened to anyone in your whole life, you better listen to me now. They are preparing now in stage 3. They are getting ready to disarm the people of the United States of America. And the next one, disarmament, 2 approaches, a comparison, United States and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics disarmament proposals. United States Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, dated November 1961. Ladies and gentlemen, quote, the United States calls on all states to make a continuous, uninterrupted effort to achieve a total program for general and complete disarmament, end quote. Do you understand? Now do you know why they keep putting into Congress all of these bills to make you register your guns, take away certain types of firearms from you, disarm the American people, and they won't stop until they have every firearm in this country, or until you draw the line and say no more, and then they will send the troops against us, and then the war will start. And it will happen. Under the USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, quote, although it has put forward certain proposals apart from its disarmament plan to ease international tensions and create a favorable climate for disarmament, the USSR takes the position, insofar as disarmament measures are concerned, that there must be full agreement on all aspects of general and complete disarmament before implementing a single measure, end quote. We are disarming, they are not, and it goes on into the goals that I've already communicated to you. Disarmament, the continuing search by William C. Foster, Director, United States Arms Control and Disarmament Agency. Disarmament, the continuing search. Perhaps as you reflect on the news these days, you feel it is not comfortable to be an inhabitant of this planet. But of course, except for brief periods in history, it never has been comfortable for great numbers of people. Annihilation by club, arrow, spear, sword, bullet, or what have you, has been a constant threat at one place or another on this relatively small globe. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the United States government and the government of the United Kingdom at the end of World War II that promoted and continues to promote the Holocaust by the Germans in order to instill in the consciousness of the people of the world that disarmament must take place. Whether or not the Holocaust occurred is not the question, and you'd better understand that right now. Of course, to those Jewish people, and gypsies, and Poles, and Negroes, and Christians who were in the concentration camps, and who suffered, and who lost family members, and many, many others, the Holocaust is as real in their minds whether or not it occurred, and so stay off their back about it. Leave them alone. You see, it's not about them. These people are being used like we are being used. It is about world government. These people are being used to promote it, just as you are being used every day of your life. The break of the Soviet Union occurred, ladies and gentlemen, the breakup, to fool the American people into accepting disarmament, not understand really what this is all about. You see, these people who run the world understand sheeple better than you would ever believe. And you better quit being sheeple right this moment. You'd better pull the wool out from over your eyes, stop being hoodwinked, take off that fur coat, stand up on your own 2 feet, stop, bye. Join a militia. If you can't find one, form one. Get ready to fight for your freedoms or lose them all without a whimper. The 1963 Limited Test Ban Treaty, which prohibits nuclear tests in the atmosphere, underwater, and in outer space, is a case in point. This treaty was made necessary by technology. It also was made possible by technology. End quote. It talks about a new approach to security using this technology. It also talks about, ladies and gentlemen, a complete definition of the term arms control, and that would fill a page. And even then, not everyone would be satisfied. For practical purposes, however, arms control might be summed up as efforts to reduce the likelihood of war and to limit its effects if it occurs. It thus covers a broad spectrum of possible measures. And listen to this. Quote, history and advancing technology have combined to make arms control a highly complex subject, calling for the concerted efforts of military men, diplomats, physical and social scientists, jurists, and others. And under environmental warfare, listen to this. Quote, the highlight of the session was the August 21st tabling by the United States and Soviet representatives of identical texts of a draft. Let me say that again. The highlight of the sessions was the August 21st tabling by the United States and Soviet representatives of identical texts of a draft. Listen to this. Identical texts of a draft entitled, quote, Convention on the Prohibition of Military or any other hostile use of environmental modification techniques, end quote, and it goes on and on and on and on. And they do have the ability to modify weather and just about make it whatever they want. I don't know if they've been doing that. But they have the ability. And we have found treaties that exist that acknowledge that they have the ability and prohibit the signatories to the agreement from using such technology to modify the weather or any other part of the environment without notifying the country that will be infected. It doesn't say they can't, it just says they have to notify. And it goes on and on. So if you're looking for our own armed forces to save us, you're looking in the wrong place. The only defense you have is the militia. And those members of the armed forces who at the specified time will realize what they are doing and come over to us with their men and their equipment. And that will happen. I don't know on what scale, but it will happen. Quote, the 10th special session of the General Assembly, the first session to be devoted to disarmament, opened on 23rd May 1978 at the United Nations headquarters, New York. The Assembly concluded its work in the early hours of July the 1st. Earlier, during that final meeting on 30 June, it adopted resolutions S-10/2 containing the final document of the 10th special session of the General Assembly, comprising an introduction, a declaration, and a program of action, and establishing new international machinery for disarmament. Now listen to what I just said, establishing new international machinery for disarmament. And that's that multi-nation force that I told you about, that's here, with thousands of pieces of Russian armament, armored personnel carriers, tanks, decontamination vehicles, which means that they may even use biological or chemical warfare upon us. On page 22, it also decided to establish a program of fellowships on disarmament. Quote, implementation of the priorities mentioned in the program should lead to general and complete disarmament under effective international control, the Assembly asserted, end quote. And, quote, the Committee on Disarmament was to undertake the elaboration of a comprehensive program of disarmament in order to ensure that the goal of general and complete disarmament became a reality in a world in which the new international economic order was strengthened. Let me say that again. The new international economic order was strengthened. That's a buzzword for the New World Order. And you're still listening to Rush Limbaugh. In stage 3, the civilian populations of the United States and the other countries of the world who still have weapons will be disarmed. That's why the World Trade Center was blown up. That's why the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City was blown up. That's why the guy in Scotland, after he had been subjected to mind control experimentations, opened up on a schoolyard of children. That's why it happened in Australia. That's why it happened in a schoolyard in Stockton. And I wrote in my book years ago, many years ago, that all of these things would take place. How did I know? Not because I had anything to do with it, folks. I know simply because I've studied the history of socialism. They never change. They never change. They are as predictable as the sun.
You know about AIDS as a germ warfare.
AIDS as a germ warfare. Well, I don't know anything. I certainly have noticed that within 10 years of the discovery of retroviruses, which the AIDS virus is, you know, one of the dogmas of molecular biology was that there was never transcription from RNA to DNA. It was always from DNA to RNA. Then they discovered the so-called family of retroviruses. Within a very few years, 3 or something after that, AIDS appeared with its curious political selectivity. I mean, this is a drug which goes after homosexuals, people who shoot intravenous drugs, black people, and loose people. If they could have just somehow gotten the Tay-Sachs thing in there too, so it would have gotten Jews, I'm sure they would have really been pleased with themselves. If it is, in fact, a piece of political engineering, I don't know that it is, but I certainly notice its curious selectivity. If it is, you may be sure that this is a secret buried far deeper than anything having to do with Auschwitz or Watergate or anything else. You want to talk about a crime against humanity. This is a crime against humanity on a previously inconceivable scale. There's been a lot of speculation about this. Granted, some of it has emerged from East Bloc countries, but on the other hand, it's well documented that other bacteriological and chemical agents were tested in this very city in the 50s and 60s. Some of you may know the incidents that I'm referring to. So it's a possibility not to be ruled out, certainly.